Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Random Encounters. This was sent to me by Regular People Gaming, and it is a RPG game where you pick characters and go on a quest, and it's kind of like an old school RPG. Let me kind of show you how it's played. So the game is pretty straightforward. You can play one player or up to 4 players, and you're basically drawing encounter cards, trying to beat them, getting loot, equipping them, and moving on. It's very much like a old school video game. This character sheet gives you your stats, and along with equipment slots, your health. Every character has a battle thing and a leader ability. There are 14 different characters in the game, so there's a lot to choose from. If you play with multiple people, you have like a leader token, but I'll just show you kind of like a one-player game. So, very simply, you draw from the encounter deck. There are different levels. This is level 1. Eventually, as you progress, you will go to the level 2 deck and the level 3 deck, and here's the encounter. It's a monster, it's a wolf, very scary. So, here's how the battling goes down. If you look at this card, you can see that the top says 4 times for the health. Depending on how many players you have, it multiplies. So if it was 3 players, this would have 12 health. Since we're doing 1 player, this is 4 health. Monsters' health are kept track on a board like this, and if you have 2 monsters in battle, you have a board that has 2 different sides. Combat is very simple. You have 3 different types of stats. You have strength, agility, and magic. Since Reginald's magic is the highest, we'll roll with a magic attack. So 4, roll a die, add the number. He does an attack of 9. Look at the wolf card. Okay, his magic resistance is 2, so it's 7 damage. So he is utterly destroyed, 1 hit. Now let's say the monster wasn't killed in 1 hit. Let's say he had some HP left. Then it would be the monster's turn to attack. Every monster has a highlighted stat. In this case, the wolf attacks with agility. So it's 3 agility. Roll the dice. It's 3. 3 plus 3, 6. So it's 6 agility damage. Subtract 2 from Reginald's agility stat, and that would do 4 damage to Reginald, so he would go down to 10. Now, monsters have different abilities. For example, Howling Winds, players cannot recover health points until the wolf is defeated. Reginald has his own stuff, I'll explain in a second. But anyways, if you defeat the monster, you draw a loot card, and you keep this encounter card to show that you beat this encounter. There are also trap encounters. Basically, these require a player to roll a specific number. In this case, it'd be 8 attack or 8 magic, or you suffer a consequence. On the dice, there's actually a star, and if you roll a star, you automatically succeed. And if you roll a 1, it's an automatic failure. And just like battle, you pick a stat. In this case, Reginald's magic is 4. Roll the dice. 2, okay, that's not enough because it'd be 6, so the next person would have to go, or you would suffer damage. The loot carts you get after each battle or encounter some of them are disposable items, like the Gushing Berries. This lets you heal all players by 3 health, and also everyone gets 1 temporary attack token. You can have equipable weapons, like for example, this is the quarterstaff. If I equip it in the sword slot, as you can see, it conveniently lines up with the agility stat, so he has a boost of 1 as long as that card is equipped. There are also enchantment cards, and these basically will power up an equipment. So if you attach this to a specific piece of equipment, it gives it a special ability. This one, for example, does 2 extra damage versus jelly, nature, and material monsters. On the monster cards in the top right, there are different symbols to show what kind of monster they are. Leader abilities are abilities that can only be used when you're the leader of that round. Reginald is picky. At the start of Reginald's turn as leader, he may look at the top card in the loot deck. He may then return that card to the top of the loot deck or place it at the bottom. And then there's your battle ability. Battle abilities are used when you roll a star. Like I said, on the dice there is a star. Reginald's is Magician's Aura. When Reginald rolls a star while attacking, he gets 1 magic token per level. Distribute these at will. Tokens are temporary little boosts that you can put on your character. Some of them are permanent later on when you level up, but these can be put on characters to make them a little bit stronger for the battle. Throughout the game, you will get star tokens when you level up and roll stars, and so you can use star tokens to trigger your battle ability whenever you want. There are also event cards in the encounter deck, like Ambush, which means a monster basically gets to attack you first, and then you just get thrown into a battle. Yeah, there's like merchants and monster nests. There's all kinds of little events that pop up in the encounter deck as well. Once every player has beaten 2 encounters for that level, you fight a boss, and bosses have more HP, higher stats, and they have special abilities. For example, Lord of the Jellies here At the start of the battle, find the Gumdrop Jelly and put it into play alongside the Lord of the Jelly, so you get to fight 2 monsters at once. And then they have tricky abilities, and you kind of have to go around in rounds to try to beat the monster. After you beat a boss, you move on to level 2. You get level 2 loot from now on, and level 2 encounters, which are harder, and you get permanent boosts. You can choose one of these skills to permanently upgrade with a token. So let's say we do agility. Now he has a permanent agility boost. You get more HP. If you run out of HP, you are knocked out. Now, that doesn't mean you're necessarily dead. If your party survives the battle, then at the end of it, you are revived with 1 health point at the end. However, if all players are knocked out, then it is game over. And that's essentially it. Throughout the game, you're just fighting monsters, getting better loot, getting better stats, cooler abilities, and try to get as far as you can. And try to, once you beat the level 3 boss, you win the game. I appreciate the passion that's put into this game. Clearly, there's a lot of love for these characters. The cards and the character boards have a lot of like quotes and lore and just like a lot of character interactions. Like, I don't know if these are pre-existing characters from some kind of franchise or something, but there's clearly a lot of love put into these characters and the sort of world that they're in. And I think there's fun to be had here. It is satisfying equipping items and building up your stats. They did manage to capture how it feels in an old school RPG to like get better equipment, and your level ups feel satisfying as your health and your different skills get stronger. However, the game is a little too simplistic. Really, all the battling is pick one of these 3 numbers, probably the highest one, roll a dice, add it, deduct the enemies. That's how much damage. And yeah, you kind of have abilities maybe sometimes, but it's very simple. And unfortunately, this kind of bites you in the ass later on because sometimes if you're up against a really tough enemy, there's really not a whole lot you can do. If the enemy has tons of health and their resistances are really high, and your stats are what they are, there's almost nothing you can do, because all you're doing is just rolling a dice, hoping it'll add up to a number and get over their resistance to it. You only get what loot you draw from the deck randomly, so if you just didn't get good enough loot, unfortunately, you're screwed. I mean, there's really nothing. We didn't end up beating the game. We got to level 3, but we died on the final boss because just with our equipment and stat setups, it was impossible to win, basically. There are 14 characters in the game, and while that's cool for variety, I feel like it's way too many. It feels like the game didn't account for all the different types of characters and the types of monsters in the game, because it really felt like at the end that there was nothing we could have done to beat that boss at all. I feel like if there were fewer characters, more balanced and focused characters, and also a better way of getting loot besides randomly drawing from a deck. Like maybe you could draw, I don't know, a couple at a time, or maybe there could be like a market phase, which there kind of is in this game. Like you can, but you still trade for random loot cards. There needs to be some way to mitigate the randomness, because it is a random game. At the end of the game, if you just didn't get the right random loot, there's nothing you can redo. So that's a pretty significant flaw, I think. Overall, the game is okay. I think it does capture, maybe to a fault, what it feels like to play an old school RPG, because on one hand, it does capture the joy of leveling up and getting new items, but on the other hand, it also kind of captures the punishing and kind of random feel of old school RPGs that kind of are lacking in the complexity that would let you strategize more. Simple, maybe too simple, and feels a little shaky in execution.